Okay, so I'm gonna try to do this story without a script. This is my first time really trying to tell a story time, but I figure with how I am, I do a lot better with just kind of rambling and sorting out my thoughts as I go. Or maybe I won't, and then this will be a learning experience for everybody. But this story is about the time that I was more or less scammed out of my last $10 by someone who was pretending to hire me for an art project for his group. This is one of those stories that it's really, really surreal looking back, especially when I consider that because of my anxiety issues, I kind of blamed myself for such a long time. I think this story happened when I was about 17, 18, and I had never really, I had had occasional freelance jobs here and there, one of which was another woman who never paid me, but that's too small for a story time, not now. But I was really, really inexperienced and ignorant, and I probably should have seen some red flags, but I was just so excited at the prospect of actually being able to make money from my passion for the first time ever that I just kind of went with it, Well, what wound up happening is that my aunt, who knew that I drew a lot of anime at the time, well, it was more the cartoon anime, which I promise it's relevant that I was not straight up anime. I was going through that phase of art where you're convincing yourself that you're too good for anime, so what you basically wind up drawing is some kind of anime western cartoon mashed together style. But anyways, yeah, well, she had this guy who worked with her, and he went to conventions all the time, and my aunt, not knowing the difference between anime or comics or anything in between, was like, conventions? Hey, I should, get these two to meet up. And he told her, when he learned that I did art, that he wanted to hire me, and she thought that that was awesome. I'm doing a lot of stuff with my hands that you can't see. But, so she tried to hook this up, and I went with it. I was like, okay, you know what? What I was originally told, because we started talking through messages on Facebook before we met up, and this is where he started to definitely take advantage of me as a young artist in ways that I didn't really, just beginner mistakes. He told me that he goes around from convention to convention with a cosplay group, and that if I worked for him, he would get me into conventions for free and get me artist alley tables if I helped carry around some of their equipment and, just smaller stuff. And that sounded like a dream come true. I had never been to an artist alley. I don't think I'd even been to a convention at that point. I was so young. I didn't start going to conventions and social gatherings like that until a bit later on in my life. But yeah, that sounded like a dream come true. So I'm like, yeah, let's try to make this work. So this is where I made a major mistake. A very big mistake that I want any young artists to learn from, and I just bumped my mic, I'm sorry if you could hear that. But I had accepted him as a friend, and that was back when I was uploading all of my current art to Facebook. I was keeping it very updated. So he goes through my art, and he comes back, and he is like, listen, here are some things about your art. Here are the things that I don't like. And I just want to say, young artists, if someone's hiring you and they don't like your art, turn them down. Why would they come to you if they don't like your art? There are plenty of artists out there that have different styles. You should never have to change your art for a job. But that's what he implied. He said that my faces were too simple, because like I said, I had the more cartoonish style, and he wanted good old pure anime. And again, this is a time when I really should have just been like, this isn't gonna work out, but I was really desperate. So here's what I wound up doing for this man. He gave me 2 pictures. One, oh my god, one was Sailor Moon, just a stock image of Sailor Moon standing in her sailor outfit. The second was Kirito and Asuna from Sword Art Online, one of the official posters, and he told me, to prove yourself, that you can do what I need you to do, I want you to draw these for me. Ugh. I'm so mad thinking back on how I actually did this. Like, none of that made sense. None of it. Like, why would I and when you think about the fact that my job was going to be carrying stuff for him, from what he said, that I was not going to be even like, my art wouldn't be representing him. I was gonna go and help him with his stuff and then have my own artist alley table. Like, why did I have to prove to him that I had art that he could be proud of? Like, that didn't even, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I had to prove to him that I could draw better than what I was drawing now. And I did it. I sat down with pencil and paper and I drew Sailor Moon and Kirito and Asuna. And then he critiqued them. He critiqued them a lot. And he had me scan them so he could get them in their full glory. Because even though he had critiques... Wait. Oh my god. I think I remember he made me redraw Sailor Moon. Like, I had to draw Sailor Moon twice. Because he didn't like the first one. So I do that. I do all of that. I could have been doing anything else with my time, like actually building a portfolio for people that were going to pay me. But, no, I did it because I was desperate. And here's one of the things that if I heard this now, I would block somebody. I can't even imagine what I would do if I heard it now. I'd probably submit it to that exposure Twitter, but like, he told me, so, see, this is gonna be good for you, you know, the whole drawing me free art stuff. Because I have a gallery in my basement, and I put up only the best art. I have a gallery too then, my dude. It's called The Posters in My Room that I paid for from artists at conventions. Like, I have a gallery of art in my basement, of only the best art. Boy, oh my god, I can't get over that every time I think back at it, like, we've all got galleries of art in our room, like, who are you? I'm assuming the basement was his room, or it was a special art room. Either way, I know he's not taking through prospective buyers. Every week he brings down lovers of the art who are looking for clients, and he says, these two, I got an young artist to draw these for me for free. Like, you should check her out. Here's her email. Like, what are you gonna do with your gallery in your basement? Anyways, I don't want to rant on that too much, but like, that should have been when I was like, this guy's a joke. But no. I was like, okay, cool, you have a gallery in your basement. I'm just gonna not think about that. And what wound up happening next is I went to meet the guy. My aunt drove me to meet this guy to talk in person about our business. And, you know, there's only a few highlights from that, but they are big highlights. So, the first one is, you know, there's not much where I'm from, but there are plenty of places that you can sit down and, like, talk. McDonald's is fine. Grab a drink. Sit at McDonald's. There's a Wendy's next door. A Subway if you're feeling special. Like, there are parks. Why does this guy, who I have just met, drive me 20 minutes to a park I've never been before, like through the country hills? Drives me through the hills. 20 minutes in the car. Like, I could have died Like, this dude I didn't know, instead of stopping at any of the places that would have made more sense to conserve gas and time. But I think his excuse was he really wanted to talk to me, even though, the sitting down was supposed to be the talking part. So we go through, we drive all the way out to this park, and we get out, and he's like, I love this park. That's great, dude. I'm glad you love this park. Wish you'd done it on your own time. But so we sit down and we start talking, and I lied. Now that I'm actually, talking it out and reliving it, there's a lot of moments. But, we sit down and we're talking, and the majority of this is not about my art. He's telling me drama about his ex-girlfriend in his cosplay group. I think he even showed me a picture of her in, Avengers getup. I can't even joke about this, and my social anxiety was so bad. This entire experience, even if it had gone perfectly, would have been at least slightly traumatic for me, because getting in the car with a stranger who takes me on a 20-minute drive to a place I've never seen before, all of that was horrible. But then this guy is just awful. But then I find out the actual terms of my job. And, after he gets done talking about himself and his ex-girlfriend and their drama and how much he still has feelings, so it gets weird, but, they're in it for the group, the cosplay group. And then he's like, okay, so, about your art. What you showed me was, he tells me that I showed that I had potential. And, then he's like, here's the thing, you're not gonna get an artist alley table. What you're gonna do is, we always get a table in the dealer's room with, I guess cosplay props or stuff, or their cosplay group. I don't know, I don't know much about cosplay, but they get their own table, and I would get to sit at that and help them sell stuff. And then, if we're, walking around at the convention doing photo shoots and someone wants me to draw, I'm allowed to sit down and draw for them. I'm serious. This was literally but he's like, but I'll get you in the conventions for free. And you can work for me for free, I guess. But, that wasn't even all of the terms of it. He also talked about how they had a website, and how, on top of having the privilege of watching him and his group do their thing and being allowed to sit down and draw when I want to, I was also going to have to draw for their website. And he did that whole build-up that was you've probably heard this before if you're an artist. He was like, look, you're not going to get paid at first, but if your art brings people in, if you really show dedication, we can discuss that in the future. If you're gonna draw, artists, young artists, I know that I have a few young artists that follow me. If you're gonna draw for free for yourself. If you're not gonna be paid, do it on your terms. If you're gonna draw for a website, make it your website. Don't ever do anything like that for anybody. Luckily, I didn't. After I got out of the car with this dude, I had a panic attack, and then I never spoke to him again. So I darted out of that. Not without paying, actually paying money, but, so, that all wraps up, and we get back in the car, and, it's really awkward on this 20-minute drive home, because, I'm at the point where I'm kind of, I'm already a shy person, but I had completely closed in. I was in my shell, because I realized this guy is ridiculous. This entire situation is ridiculous. I don't want to be here. I wish I hadn't come here. And I gave him free art. So, that's all kind of crashing down on me. And I'm stuck in the car with him for 20 minutes while we make it back to home. And I remember I only remember two things he said in the car, because, again, I went into autopilot. And for me, autopilot is where I don't listen, but when it seems like you want to reply, I giggle. So, yeah, I went into autopilot. I was not listening to a word he said. But then 2 things stood out. I can't remember what he said leading up to this, but it was like kind of a cherry on the top. And excuse my use of this term, but he said, and I don't know what led up to this. All I know is that he said it, and I was like, I have never heard that before. Why would you say that to me? And he said, haha, you know, God hates queers, but he loves a good deal. Well, you know, God doesn't really hate queers. And I was just like, well, if I didn't already decided that I hated you 20 minutes ago, now I know that you probably hate gay people, and that you know, that's really not gonna work out, because, hello. So, that was uncomfortable, and I think, like, the last thing he said that popped out at me is he was like, you know, you seem really shy, and you're gonna have to come out of your shell if you're gonna be in this group, because that's not gonna work out. Like, you put me in the shell, you, like, slam dunked me in my shell, you made this as uncomfortable for me as possible, you, like, told me about your relationship drama, like, I need my shell, it's protecting me right now. But anyways, I was just like, that's fine, don't worry about it, we're not gonna have to worry about how I mesh well with your ex-girlfriend, because it's not happening. But, and there's one more thing about this, and this is the part that, like, just really insult to injury. We get to a gas station that is very close, maybe 15 minutes from my home. We pull in for him to refill his gas, and he turns to me and he says, hey, I don't have money for gas. Do you have any money? Why did you drive me 20 minutes away if you didn't have money for gas? What were you gonna do? Were we gonna walk? Like, what? Like, we didn't have to go to your favorite park that's 20 minutes there and back. Like, what were you gonna do if I didn't have my last $10? This 16, 17, 18, I can't even remember your old artist. $10 to my name, because I'm still trying to make money off art, and you're not gonna pay me. You weren't even ever planning on paying me. And you took my last $10, and I handed it to him, and he did that thing that just kind of makes it worse, where he's like, you're unhappy, aren't you, that I have to take this? And I'm just like, no, I'm not unhappy, not at all. And because I don't have a backbone. Also, you know, being in a car with someone I've only known for an hour, like, you don't really want to start causing a fuss, because then I might really have to walk home while he speeds off on the gas I paid for. I don't know. But, and when I think about that, it kind of gets me, because unless this guy was actually that short-sighted and frankly dumb to not have money and drive an excessive amount for something that could have been done in like 10 minutes at a McDonald's, was he like testing me? Like, I know that people like this do that stuff. Like, how could he possibly have thought that he was gonna drive 20 minutes there and back with no money on him? I know he had a card. Just thinking about it, he was absolutely testing me, because seeing if I would give up that money. And, like, what was I gonna do? Not give him gas money? Not get home? Like, oh my god. I made sure my aunt got the money back. Like, it took a while. It took longer than it should have for someone who she knew at work where he was being paid. It took a stupid amount of time for me to get that $10 back, which also reinforces my belief that, like, he just didn't want to pay for gas. And I guess because I was really, really shy and I needed to come out of my shell, I guess I was, like, an easy target for bullying out of my lunch money. I don't know. But that's basically the gist of the story. Because of my anxiety, I blamed myself for how awkward the situation was. I went home and I crashed down hard. Really hard. I was like, I was at that point, I had anxiety so bad that it made even normal interactions really difficult for me. And oh my god, that was just too much for me, definitely. You know, I want to end this kind of like sending out a message to young artists who are at the point where I was when I accepted this job or whatever. Like, if work on what you love. If you're not going to be paid, then create something you can be proud of. Never accept work where you're going to have to work for free. Like, it's easy to think, you know, you're starting out, you're not that experienced with it. Maybe you don't feel like your art is good enough to really ask for money, but you always deserve to ask for money. You worked hard to get where you are, even if you feel like it's not that far at all. And with hard work, you're going to get really, really far. And it's amazing the things somebody will say to try to get a free picture. And think of it this way, like, someone trying to convince you to do work for free, they're doing that because your art's good and they want it, but they're cheapskates and they're not going to treat you with the respect you deserve. So, never let yourself be treated like crap, because when you look back in the future, maybe you'll get some funny stories out of it, but if you want to do art for a living, start now. Treat it like it's a living, even if it's a side thing. If this is your goal, treat your art with the respect that you hope to someday have for it. Treat yourself with dignity and make certain that the people that you're talking to give you that same dignity, because if they aren't, then you're better off drawing your own stuff. You're better off creating your own projects. I know I'm just rambling, but there are ridiculous people out there that will say anything to get a picture from you, or get anything from you for free. And just try to really think before you accept, and never feel like you have to do something. 'Cause, if the alternative is you're still not being paid, then cool. At least you have free time. You don't have to deal with assholes. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed, and I have a lot more stories, actually, so if you enjoy this, please give me some feedback, and I would love to do more stuff like this in the future. See you on YouTube.